You know, the two guns you see in front of me right now are guns that people are often comparing. They're often saying, which one of these is truly the better gun? Would it be the Glock or the Smith & Wesson M&P? Now, this is a Glock 33. I have actually a 26 now because I have a 9mm barrel in it. And this is a Smith & Wesson compact. Now, these guns are very similar, but they're also very different. I mean, they're very similar sizes. They're similar capacities. You can get them in the same calibers. They're both polymer carry guns, very similar polymer carry guns, but there are some very big differences between the two that you should take into account when you're choosing which one you would rather have. Let's actually look at a couple of the differences between the guns. Now, one of the differences in the guns is the sights they come with. This gun does not have the standard sights. Neither of these guns have the standard sights, so I really won't go over that too much. But the Glock comes with some pretty crappy sights straight from the manufacturer, whereas the Smith & Wesson comes with better sights. But let's talk about some differences here that I can show you. Since this gun's been modified a little bit, there's not a whole lot I can talk about some aspects, but I can talk about the major differences between these guns. Now, the one major difference is the trigger design. The trigger design is much different on the Glock. It's got the little nubby there in the middle. You push that down to get the trigger to move. That's their safety trigger. Now, the trigger on the Smith & Wesson is different. It's like a two-piece trigger that kind of pivots in the middle. It's like a joint right there in the center part. So it's a little bit different than the Glock, but it works on the same principle. I actually like the Glock trigger a little bit better. This one just feels flimsy to me. And I know it's not flimsy, but it feels flimsy to me. Now, another difference between these two guns is the Smith & Wesson M&P Compact has a rail. This is their smallest gun, and it has a rail. Now, I don't put accessories on my carry guns, so this doesn't mean anything to me, but it might mean something to you, because this gun has a rail, but the Glock doesn't. On the subcompact Glock, there is no rail. If you want a rail, you're going to have to move up to the compact Glock, which does have a rail. Now, this is a little bit bigger than the Smith & Wesson Compact, but not much. The Smith & Wesson Compact is more, I guess, comparable to the subcompact Glock, but if you're going to get the M&P Compact, for not much larger in size, you could get the compact Glock and have more rounds. Now, the biggest difference is going to be the grip angle. Glocks have their own grip angle. It's a little bit different than most other guns. If you're familiar with Glocks, you're familiar with their grip angle. If you're not, you might want to hold one first before you make a decision to buy a Glock, because they are a little bit different. These have a little bit more of a hump at the back. They got a little bit of a different angle, so they might be different than what you're used to if you've never shot a Glock before. The grip angle on the M&P is much different. It doesn't have that big hump in the back. It's not as humped. It has a much different angle to it. To me, this is the far better of the two. This just fits my hand better, makes the gun easier to control. I much prefer the grip angle on the Smith & Wesson M&P. Now, another difference between these two guns is the slide on the M&P is stainless by default. That's what it comes with, a stainless slide. It is melanite coated, but it is stainless. Now, the Glock normally just comes with a carbon steel slide. Now, this one has a stainless slide because I changed them, but on a regular Glock, that's not going to be a stainless slide like it is on the M&P. Now, as far as reliability goes, both of these guns are uber reliable. You're not going to have to worry about either one of these as far as working when you need it. Now, one thing you might want to take into account is there are far more aftermarket parts available for the Glock. So if that's important to you, being able to customize your gun, the Glock might be the choice for you. Now, a lot of people will say there's no clear winner between these guns, that you can't say one is better than the other, but I think that's a cop-out. They'll be like, oh, it's personal preference. But I think one gun is clearly better than the other gun. But you have to make one modification to it. And that gun that's clearly better is the Smith & Wesson M&P. It's just a better gun all the way around, like I said, if you make one small modification. And that one modification, I'm going to show you here what it is. It's real easy to do, and all you need is one tool. And that tool is a magic wand. If anyone remembers this wand, it's one I made my son years ago, and he's graciously loaned it to me now to make the one modification that I need to make to this gun to make it better than the Glock. Now, as usual, when you use a magic wand, you have to use your dark and evil and ancient incantation. Abracadabra, Dirty Sanchez, Hillary Rodham Clinton. Bleh. And as you can see, that modification that you have to make to the Smith & Wesson M&P to make it far better than the Glock is you simply have to turn it into an H&K P30 SK. You ain't even my real dad.